What's up, guys? Thanks for clicking on this video. My name is Nate Hibbert, and I have 5 minutes to give you 5 tips about more efficient bed leveling for your 3D printer. This is going to be specific to the Ender 3, but it should work for most 3D printers out there. So let's go ahead and start off with number 1. So tip number 1 is to turn off your stepper motors. This is going to be good for the longevity of your machines, and you don't cause any damage doing it this way. It's very simple. You go into your prepare menu, you go to auto home, wait for that to auto finish. That's the beginning of leveling your bed. Then you're going to go back into that prepare menu and turn off those stepper motors. I see some people doing this by just turning off the machine, but you can actually cause some electrical damage by moving that bed around while the machine is off. So if you do it this way, you're going to protect your machine and be able to use it longer. Tip number 2 is to not press down on the bed. This is something I'm constantly repeating over and over in my head, and I'm going to repeat multiple times in this video just because of how important it is. Even the slightest amount of pressure on your leveling bed while you are trying to level it will mess up the springs underneath. As you can see on screen, anytime I touch this bed, it's going to compress the springs, making it a false reading basically when I'm using this piece of paper to touch the drag of the nozzle on the bed. So make sure anytime that you are leveling your bed that you're not pushing down, you putting any type of pressure on the bed. You just want to be using, the lightest touch you possibly can. That way you're going to get a much more accurate reading. Tip number 3 is just to use a regular piece of printer paper. It's important to use printer paper because of the thickness of that paper is going to give you a very accurate reading when you are leveling your bed. I used to use an old card like this because I thought, a little bit thicker paper might be nice, and the fact that it's smooth would be, something I could use over and over again. But that actually gave me inaccurate readings and made sure that, it made that my nozzle was farther off the bed than I needed it to be, meaning that it wouldn't stick as well. So this printer paper I found is the perfect thickness and the right amount of roughness. I don't know the exact terminology there, but I want it to be a little bit more rough. That way I can feel the certain amount of drag when I am moving it underneath the nozzle. This is definitely going to be something that you're going to learn with time, and the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. But making sure that you're using the right type of paper, basically the right tool for the job, is super important. So using a single piece of printer paper is the way to go. So to properly try to explain this drag feel that I'm talking about, it's definitely something you're going to learn as you do it more and more for yourself, but I'm going to try and get the camera nice and close in here to show you guys kind of what it sounds like. When you're moving this paper back and forth, that's the drag that I'm talking about and what I'm looking for. So right now the drag is on pretty high. As I move this paper back and forth, if I shut up, you guys can hear that there's a lot of tension between the two. Now, hopefully you can hear that. If I drop this down a little bit, or even if I just apply a little pressure by pushing down, which you should never do, you'll hear that the drag is not as much. And maybe that doesn't sound like much on camera, but when you're doing this in person for yourself, hopefully you'll get a feel for that, and then you'll understand kind of the distance that the nozzle is from the bed. Tip number 4 is to go around in a star pattern. This is something I actually learned from working on cars, but if you want even pressure, it's best to check each corner in a star pattern. This will give you the best chance at getting a great first layer, and something you can do, especially when you're first starting out, is to actually go around twice. I know you'll be excited to get those prints started, but taking a little extra time to make sure your bed is nice and level by going around twice, you can actually learn from your mistakes. If you've checked the same thing twice and it's different each time, that there's something you need to work on. The last thing that I'll say about this is you can also check the middle of your bed. So it's great to check each 4 corners, but the middle of your bed is where a lot of prints will start, or at least pass over at some point during the print. So making sure that that is the same tension, or you're getting the same amount of drag on that paper in the middle, is just a good thing to check. Last but not least is tip number 5, which is think about your first layer of the print. When you're first starting out 3D printing, you just want to make sure that it's nice and level and that you can actually peel off your print from the bed. So making sure it's not too close or too stuck to the bed. But as you're learning to print more things, and definitely with like print in place objects, kind of like this guy over here, this little octopus, when I was printing him, I wanted to make sure that he was nice and stuck to the bed, because all these little individual joints could move around and mess up the print, and it was kind of a long print. So I wanted to make sure that my bed level was a little bit higher, meaning it was closer to the nozzle when it was printing out, making sure that all of the parts of this octopus were nice and stuck. But other prints, like the cookie cutters that I've been printing out and selling on Etsy, I want to make sure that the print bed is kind of farther away from the nozzle, meaning that that first layer that's going to go down will look nice and polished, not too squished, and when I peel it off the bed, 1, it's going to come off nice and easy, but 2, it's going to look good for the customer. I don't want to be doing any resurfacing or finishing to these products, so I want to make sure that first level looks nice as soon as I rip it off the bed, and then I can just ship it out the door as soon as possible. So how'd I do? I think that was about 5 minutes, and I'd rather you guys go back and watch this video multiple times than for me to drag out this information or make a more complicated video. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about me and follow my journey as I try to take my passion for 3D printing and turn it into a business, you can subscribe to the channel, or if you just want some more information about 3D printing, you can check the description down below. But until the next video, I will see you guys around.